Hello, my name is Daniel and I'm an atheist. I think a lot about theology. I think about a lot about atheism and my thoughts on God and religion in general, and so I thought I might make a channel or some videos talking about some of my thoughts or my thought processes. Whether you're an atheist or a Christian or a Jewish person or a Muslim person, I just think that some people might like to see that thought process behind atheism, whether you agree with it or strongly disagree with it. So without further any explanation, I think I should just go ahead and jump into my biggest criticism of the Judeo-Christian God. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty short video, pretty short explanation, but basically in Genesis, it says that on the 6th day, or Yom, I say Yom, I'm going to come back to that later, animals, land animals specifically, and then humans were created, Adam and Eve. That would imply that if you believe in dinosaurs, which if you don't, please don't waste your time with this video, that would imply that humans and dinosaurs existed at the same time. Now, we have fossil records actually showing that the oldest dinosaur fossils that we can find date back to, I believe, 4 billion years. And the oldest human fossils that we can find date back to, at oldest, 4 million. Obviously, I'm not a mathematician. If you're watching this video, I doubt that you are either, but that's an insane difference, which we have scientifically proven. And so these texts, these scriptures are actually saying, would imply that humans and dinosaurs existed at the same time. I said Yom earlier, and I said that I was going to return to that. Now I want to touch on that a little bit more. So Yom is a Hebrew word. I don't speak Hebrew. However, I do know that it is translated to era or day. It really just means a period of time, whether that be a day, a year, a decade, a century, no matter what, it can refer to anything. And so a lot of Christians say, Christians and Jewish people will say, well, it's saying Yom. So even though we have the sun and the moon and the day is already there, it's a Yom, which just means time period. And I will give them the benefit of the doubt for sure, because it does say that land animals came before, which would include dinosaurs. And so that's fair to assume that it's talking about billions of years, and that Adam and Eve came billions of years after the dinosaurs. Could be a worse train of thought for sure. My counter-argument to that is that if we're assuming that Yom now means billions of years, and let's backtrack a little bit, it says that plants were created on day 3, or Yom 3, and that the sun and the moon were created on day 6, as I mentioned earlier. That would mean that plants existed for billions of years without any sun. Now, a lot of Christians and Jewish people's counter-argument to that is that it does say, pretty much in the first verse, very beginning of the Bible, that God said, let there be light. And so there was light for the plants to grow off of, and there was light for the plants to perform photosynthesis with, which if you've taken any science course, you probably know about sort of photosynthesis, and that plants need light and water to survive. And so up until this point, it does look like the Judeo-Christian God actually doesn't have any fundamental issues, because there was light for billions of years for the plants to grow off of, and there was no need for sunlight, because in photosynthesis, as many of you watching this probably already know, it is not sunlight that is needed specifically. Like, a lot of plants are actually grown indoors with light, just from like a lamp or something. That does make sense. However, another thing I would like to backtrack a little bit. That argument does work. If you're a Christian or a Jewish person and you're saying that argument, that fundamentally works in that exact conversation. However, I want to pivot over to another conversation. So, obviously, it says the heavens and the earth were created on the first day, and the sun and the moon were created on the sixth day. So, going off of, again, Yom, we have to assume would mean billions of years if they're saying that there were billions of years in between humans and dinosaurs, and that each Yom is not referring to a day, but billions of years. And if on Yom 1 Earth was created, and Yom 6 the sun was created, that would mean that we essentially had a geocentric model. In case you don't already know, the geocentric and the heliocentric model are two different solar system models. The heliocentric, saying that the sun is the center of the universe and that everything orbits around that. If you've taken any science course, again, you know that that is the correct model. We have way too much scientific evidence to deny that. And the geocentric model is actually what Galileo said was false, and the church punished him for that. But that is the idea that everything revolves around the earth. And so if the earth was created billions of years before the sun, which according to the Jewish and Christian scriptures it was, then that means that the geocentric model either was or is the correct one. Obviously, all of the other points that I mentioned have very valid counter-arguments for any Jewish or Christian person to say, and obviously, while I believe that the atheist counter-arguments are more valid, those arguments are still valid. However, if you have the audacity to look at me in my eyes and tell me that the geocentric model is the true model, or that dinosaurs and humans existed at the same time, I don't think we can have a valid conversation. Again, this was a very short video, that's just explaining my biggest criticism of the Judeo-Christian God. Not of Jewish people or Christian people, but just the religion and the scriptures of the religion. If you enjoyed this and you're an atheist and you want to hear more things like this that might support your belief system, or you're a Christian and you kind of like or Christian or a Jewish person like hearing the counter-arguments to your religion and your religious scriptures, then I might be dropping more content in the future, so just let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you. Before I start by saying anything, I think that I should preface what I'm about to say with saying that I think that Jewish people and Christian people are totally fine. This is just personally my biggest criticism of the Judeo-Christian God.